Hi everyone. In the introductory video on AI-assisted programming, we introduced you to the AI programming tools such as GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT. So this video will cover the basics of GitHub Copilot in depth. Around end of June 2021, GitHub launched a technical preview of GitHub Copilot, which is an artificial intelligence pair programmer that helps you write better code in a faster way and with less work. And within less than a year, GitHub Copilot has been gaining immense popularity amongst programmers across the world. GitHub Copilot is powered by Codex, a generative pre-trained AI model created by OpenAI, which is based on GPT-3. Copilot has been trained on natural language, text, and source code from publicly available sources, including code in public repositories on GitHub. Codex has been trained on both natural language and billions of lines of open source code, and it is trained on languages that appears in all the GitHub public repositories. You name it: Python, Java, JavaScript, CoffeeScript, Clojure, CSS, COBOL, Ruby, and so on. Now let us discuss the Copilot flow. What happens when you write a program? You write the comments first, right? So what happens after you write the comments? The Copilot, it auto-generates predictive lines of code from the comments. These auto-generated suggestions come from the context within the project and the file, just like function name, code comments, file names, cursor position, and existing patterns in your code. And based on these informations, Copilot suggests the code snippets. And as a developer, once the Copilot has suggested you code, you can accept the suggestion just by pressing the tab key. And these AI suggestions are coming from open source code within GitHub's public repositories, and Copilot analyzes that information, then tries to find the best possible solution based on what you are typing. And continuing forward, here what we have on the right hand side, if you look, there is a JS file. Maybe it is created in a Visual Studio Code, as you can see the icon. And here we are providing the editor context like the file name, the pattern of writing the code. It reaches to the GitHub Copilot, and what GitHub Copilot does is it uses the OpenAPI Codex model to provide you suggestions. So on the left hand side, you can see the OpenAI. The project model is referring the public code and text that is present on the internet. So crawling through the internet, all the lines of code based on it are presented. This OpenAI Codex model has been trained, and based on it, it will provide you suggestion as and when you keep writing the code. Copilot will keep improving your suggestions. So initially what you write, you might have to do a bit of effort, you might have to put in a bit of effort, but as you keep on using Copilot, your life will get smoother and smoother. Now when we talk about the Copilot supported editors or IDEs, we have numerous IDEs which are seamlessly integrating with this Copilot. So we have Visual Studio Code, we have App Code, JetBrains client, we have IntelliJ IDEA, Dataspell, MPS, and so on. You can integrate Copilot to all these IDEs as an extension or as a plugin and just simply start using it. Now let us see the steps to set up GitHub Copilot in GitHub. So for the configuration of GitHub Copilot, we need to go to the official site of GitHub Copilot. So let's go to the browser and type GitHub Copilot. So the first link, you will click on the first link. You will reach to the official site of github.com, and it will say your AI programmer. You can start your free trial or you can compare the plans. Let me show you the plans available as of now. So there are two plans available. One is for the individuals, the other one is for the business. For the individuals, it costs around $10 per month, that is $100 per year, and for the business it is $19 per user per month. So I will be using this Copilot for individual and starting my free trial. So I'll click on this start a free trial. So it will take me to the sign in page. I need to sign in to the GitHub account. I'll use my existing credentials. If you do not have the credentials, you can create an account. Just click on sign in. Okay. So if I scroll down, you will see the icon Copilot here, and this is by default opened. You will see suggestions matching public code, and here by default it is allowed. Because I have already purchased the free trial version, I have to enter the credit card details, and that is why I am able to see this. Then the next step is to install the Copilot extensions in your editors. To use the Copilot in your editors, we need to install the Copilot extension. So let me go to the Visual Studio Code. So here in the left hand side, you can see these extensions. So you can search for the extension GitHub Copilot. And the first one, just click on this. You can click on install. And it is installed. This extension is enabled globally. Along with this extension, you can also install GitHub Copilot Labs. So let me click on install. And it is also installed. And once we have installed these extensions, we can use it in our code editors. And when we will start typing the code, the Copilot will start suggesting us code snippets based on our typing. We can accept the suggestion by pressing the tab key or reject it by pressing the escape key. So if I have to just say Copilot is available for 60 days trial, post that the individual will be charged some $10 per month as we have seen in the plans. So again, you can see these are the Visual Studio Code extensions which we have just installed, GitHub Copilot and GitHub Copilot Labs. Now let us see a demo for the JavaScript code generation using the GitHub Copilot. These are the 4 problems which we will ask GitHub Copilot to solve for us. The first one is to display the currency codes of the corresponding countries. The second one is to have a method that calculates the biggest number in an array. The third one is a method that returns whether a given string is a palindrome or not. The fourth one is to return the number of vowels along with the vowel characters in a given string. So these codes we will be just demonstrating. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Let me minimize it. So I have a project named JavaScript demo already created. So I'll create a new file. We'll name it as index.js. So now let's type the first comment. So I have written this comment and now I will press enter. So can you see there is an accept which says you can press tab to accept it. If you want to accept a word, you can press Ctrl plus right arrow. So I want to accept it. I'll just press tab. Press enter. You want to accept it. Press tab. Enter. Tab. Enter. And you can see and so on. So the list will continue. Okay, and let me just close it and delete this. So can you see how powerful it is? Just by typing the comment and pressing that tab key, it has suggested me the list of countries with its currency codes. So now let us test another one. So the second problem statement, let me go back to this method that calculates the biggest number in an array. Okay, press enter. Accept tab. Voila. So it has written the method which will calculate the biggest number in an array. As you can see, let biggest is equal to 0, and it has also initiated a for loop and returning the biggest value. Now let's test the third one. And you can see how intelligent it is. Based on this comment, it is suggesting me another comment which states method that calculates the smallest number in an array. But let me go back to the slide and see what is the third problem statement. So method that returns whether a given string is a palindrome or not. Press enter, tab to accept it, and that's it. So it has given me the method which will return whether a string is palindrome or not. And the last one, and see, based on my previous question or based on my previous comment, it is auto generating the suggestions for the comment as well. So let's go back to the slide and see method that returns the number of vowels along with the vowel characters in a given string. So let me type this comment. So close this comment and press enter, tab to accept it, enter. Okay. So this is the method which will count the number of vowels in a string along with the vowel characters in a given string. Now, when I showed you the configuration of Copilot in our Visual Studio, we installed another extension named as Copilot Labs. So in this, you can see it is a complementary extension that comes with GitHub Copilot Access. It generates step-by-step explanation of a code snippet. As you can see, the highlighted box which says it provides us with 4 features: explain, language translation, brushes, and text generation. So let us go to Visual Studio Code and see the demo. Now let me write a program . Okay, let me ask Copilot to suggest the code. Okay, so it has given me this one. Write a program to check if a string is palindrome or not. So now let us see the demo for the GitHub Copilot Labs. So as you can see on the left hand side, you will find this icon GitHub Copilot Labs. Let's click on this. And as explained in the PPT, you can see we have 4 features: explain, language translation, brushes, and text generation. So now let us first expand this explain, and I will just select this and ask Copilot to explain it. Okay. So can you see the result? Here is the explanation for the code above. The first line of code splits the string into an array of characters, reverses the order of the characters in the array, and joins them back into a string. And you can just read the result, and the result is incorrect, unhelpful, or great. You can also rate it. Isn't it amazing? Now let us test the another feature in the language translation. So again, if I have to select this, I will ask the Copilot to translate into one of the languages present over here. As you can see, it has multiple languages like ABAP, COBOL, C Sharp, CSS, Go, HTML, Java, Kotlin, Markdown, Python, Ruby, and so on. So let me select Python for now and ask Copilot to convert it into Python code. So here, as you can see, this is the result. So this has been translated into Python language. And you can just rate this result. Is it incorrect or unhelpful, or is it great? Now let me just collapse this and show you the usage of brushes. Before that, let's go back to the presentation. So this is the next distinguishing feature which Copilot Labs provides us with. So here we get these amount of options to choose and perform. The options are readable, add types, fix bug, debug, clean, list steps, make robust, chunk, document, and custom. Now let us see the demo for these options. Go back to the Visual Studio Code, and we have already expanded these brushes. So we'll first select the code and make it readable. It is already readable. So if I just add one more extra line and select it again and then press on clean, what it does? Can you see it has removed the extra line? So now we'll try to make this robust. So it has introduced the if-else blocks, and if I have to just list down the steps for this, so you can see it has added step-by-step explanation of the code. So line number 65, above that, convert the string to an array of characters, reverse the array, turn the array back into a string, and so on. So line to line explanation is being provided. You can test out other features on your own. And now let us collapse it. So similarly, you can test the test generation feature also. So it will generate the test cases for us. So that was all for the demo of GitHub Copilot Labs as well as GitHub Copilot. Hope you have understood the usage of it. Just by typing the comment, it has suggested us the lines of code based on our writing style, the pattern of code, and so on. Now coming to what Copilot is not. GitHub Copilot is not something that replaces learning the intricacies of how to code, because without knowing what you are doing, you are prone to inadvertently introducing bugs or poor practices in your code. However, if you have an idea of what you want to accomplish and a solid understanding of the logic behind the lines of code you want to write, but you're not familiar with the syntax, Copilot can definitely help. There has been a controversy around the legality of the training process of the Copilot, as thoughts are that this infringes on copyrights by default. Developer has to spend $10 a month or $100 a year to use GitHub Copilot once after the 60 days of free trial ends. GitHub Copilot may also collect and retain the following, collectively referred to as code snippets: source code that you are editing, related files, and other files open in the same IDE or editor, URLs of repositories and files path. Public code may contain insecure coding patterns, bugs, or references to outdated APIs or idioms. And when GitHub Copilot synthesizes the code suggestions based on this data, it can also synthesize code that contains these undesirable patterns. It works great and helpful for intermediate and advanced level programmers, and it might not be a fit for beginners since it shows suggestions and developers might not be able to grasp the concepts. And now coming to the statistical data. So here you can see when using GitHub Copilot, the perceived productivity rate has been shown 88%. The satisfaction and well-being percentages are also shown. Efficiency and flow percentages are also depicted. So the takeaway from here was it makes the room for developers to enjoy the more meaningful work that requires complex critical thinking and problem solving, leading to greater happiness and satisfaction in their work. So here, what did they do? They recruited 95 professional developers and split them randomly into two groups and timed how long it took them to write an HTTP server in JavaScript. So one group was using GitHub Copilot to complete the task and the other did not use. So they tried to control as many factors as well. So all developers were already familiar with JavaScript and they have been given the same instructions and leveraged GitHub Classroom to automatically score submissions for correctness and completeness with a test suite. So in this experiment, on an average, how successful each group was in completing the task and how long each group took to finish, this was the experiment. And you can see 45 used GitHub Copilot and 50 did not use. 78% of them you finished it and 70%. The average time, it shows 1 hour 11 minutes with GitHub Copilot, whereas it shows 2 hours 41 minutes to complete the same task, which is 55% more time than the developers who used GitHub Copilot. So that was all about the statistical data. And now coming to why Copilot. So there are plenty of reasons to choose Copilot. Some of them are listed here. The first one is rapid application development. You can generate code which can reduce time and effort drastically, as we have already seen in our demos. It has increased productivity. It automates the repetitive tasks such as code completion and error checking, allowing the developers to focus on more complex tasks rather than the trivial ones. It improves the code quality, identify and flag potential errors and bugs. It has streamlined the collaboration, helping developers navigate the large code bases, find the relevant code snippets, and understand the intent of existing code. Personalization, as you have seen, based on the type of style code patterns, it provides you with personalized recommendations and suggestions. And it can also write automated test cases. It understands the existing solutions and also speeds up learning new programming languages. Continuing, we have it can reduce bugs in production and it enforces the best practices. It makes the code more readable and consistent, and it has drastically reduced the code review workload, leaving more time for human reviewers to identify the deeper issues in the code. It also promotes the use of safe libraries, as recommendations are based on common programming practices. So Copilot typically recommends popular, well-maintained third-party APIs and libraries. And it promotes safe code use. Suggestions are based on trusted code that meets the organization's quality standards. Now, the main slide which says Copilot versus ChatGPT. So in the introductory video, we introduced you to the two tools. One is the GitHub Copilot, the other one is ChatGPT. So if we have to list down the major differences, here are few of them. First one is it technically uses the GPT-3 Codex model. The ChatGPT uses the bigger, more generic GPT-3 Da Vinci model. If we talk about GitHub Copilot, it is specifically for coders, whereas ChatGPT is designed explicitly for chatbot applications. Copilot is excellent for short snippets and ChatGPT is good to get broad architectural outlines. Copilot integrates into editors and IDEs, as we have seen, whereas ChatGPT comes with a separate interface. Copilot considers the context of the existing project and the coding patterns, whereas ChatGPT maintains a conversational context. GitHub Copilot works with you and makes your work faster and effective, whereas ChatGPT provides you improvements and alternative methods to do your work more efficiently. And now, if we have to recap the whole session, we see that GitHub Copilot works best when you divide your code into small functions, use meaningful names for function parameters, and write good doc strings and comments as you go. It seems to do best when it's helping you navigate unfamiliar libraries or frameworks. Also, GitHub Copilot does not write perfect code. It is designed to generate the best code possible given the context it has access to, but it does not test the code, it suggests the code, so that code may not always work or even make sense. Therefore, like any other code, code suggested by GitHub Copilot should be carefully tested, reviewed, and vetted. And as a developer, you are always in charge. So that was it for the whole session. Going ahead, we will deep dive on how to use these AI tools and techniques while programming. Thank you.